The first time I met Dennis, he was a younger man, probably around 30 to 35, and it was really nice to see him. And we had a great conversation, and it was really nice. And then the second time I saw him, it was a version of him that was around, I'd say around 50 to 55 years old. And that time when we met, we weren't allowed to talk, or I would have been more than happy to, but I guess because of the media, or the terrible corruption in the media, prevented us from having a nice conversation or whatever. But thank you very much, Dennis. And then Thaxton K is another lineman that I work with, and I have reason to believe that Thaxton K is the reincarnation of Slim, the lineman who they wrote the song about. So, and that I believe is provable as well, and that can be proved with the QSETI website. Gene Parentu, I saw Gene again, and Mark Bellinger, he's here. And then, now getting into the mixed martial arts industry, I have met many champion fighters. As I mentioned before, I saw one Nick Diaz, and then just recently I saw another version of Nick Diaz, and he knew right who I was, and hopefully I can come up, the information and the suggestions I'm going to provide will hopefully help the martial arts industry. Tank Abbott, Tank is here. Uriah Faber, I met, I believe, 4 versions of Uriah Faber, and he became an angel, and I believe he's also extraterrestrial. He became extraterrestrial. Rich Franklin, but it might have been it might have been the actual Rich Franklin that was fighting, and not a doppelganger when I met Rich Franklin. Luke Kumo, I met Luke Kumo, and Luke Kumo was actually in jail because he began exhibiting superhuman potential, and when the doctors found out, they started giving him all these pharmaceuticals to prevent him from spiritually evolving, and he didn't want to take the pharmaceuticals, so that they locked him up in jail, and now they force feed him the pharmaceuticals. And there's a lot of mixed martial artists I met. I met a lot of champion fighters, and hopefully there's going to be some really great changes with the mixed martial arts industry. I met Robin Hood, as I went over before. He's around, and also the reincarnation of the Duke of Earl. And I know him. I could actually interview him. I mean, if the human race wants, if you want, I could call him and ask if he wants to, but depending on the reaction I get to this video will depend on that. And Tiago Silva, Tiago Silva is actually working in law enforcement, and I know he's in jail in one dimension, and in another dimension he's supporting the prison system. So it kind of just goes to show how, how the mechanics of karma and how that works. I mean, if you're going to support the prison system, then you're going to end up in it, and you don't see about that in this life, and that's why the information about the different dimensions is withheld from people. And that was just a few pages of doppelgangers. I mean, I've probably met literally thousands, but this just just the ones I went over is good enough, and this is all provable to, because I went over my family and my friends, I went over all my coworkers, movie stars, the martial artists, and pretty much every, law enforcement industry's in there, military's in there, and everything that I'm saying here is provable, absolutely provable. But in order for these, because many of these beings are from a different dimension, so prior to these beings being comfortable coming out publicly, I believe what has to happen is the human race has to acknowledge the fact that I'm from a different dimension, and once the angels and extraterrestrials see that the human race is able to absorb that information and work with it, then we can bring all the rest of it. So, and that's basically up to every I know it. This is a free will zone, and this is a choice on your part whether you want to acknowledge this information and prove it and bring it through or not. But there is some serious, it's freedom at stake. It's the freedom of the human race that's at stake here. So, and the bottom line is it boils down to clear, direct, honest communication, courage, intelligence, and that's it. Now, I just drew a little graph as far as merging goes and how beings merge in a higher dimension. But so this is this graph here. This line here represents the dimension that I was born in, and I just and there was all throughout everything that I did. Everybody's merging, everybody. But this is just one quick example of, and these are all women that I've dated, my ex-girlfriends. This one's Sharon Ainsworth, Rebecca Wells, Marianne Castarella, Lucy Orculo, and Charlene Eureka. Well, and that was, these beings were in the dimension that I came from. These are all girls that I've dated. In this dimension, Sharon Ainsworth and Rebecca merged into one being. Rebecca Wells, Marianne Costello, and Sharon, these three merged into a being. Marianne, Rebecca, and Lucy, these three beings merged into a different being. Lucy and Charlene merged into a being and became an oracle. And then when you go up into other higher dimensions that can come down and materialize into this dimension, now you got Sharon, Rebecca, Marianne, and Lucy. They all merged together, and then they split, and basically there's two different beings with all the same beings merged in there. And then Lucy jumped in the fray, and then she became part of another being that I met. So, and this is where you get into really high intelligence extraterrestrials and angels, and this is your divine guidance. When you pray, this, then it starts getting into, and this is where you start understanding the collective consciousness and how that works. So eventually, there's 144 dimensions, and then there's a whole new ball of wax. But you can see from the pattern here that all is one. We all end up merging into the same being. So everyone you meet is a reflection of your consciousness. And when you understand that you're in an orb and nothing exists outside your fingertips, basically you're in a bubble. And what happens when you press two bubbles together? They become one bubble, like in fusion. So that's basically that. And then there's all sorts of various combos. Marianne, my ex-girlfriend, and my Aunt Nancy. Now they never met each other. In fact, in the dimension I was born in, my Aunt Nancy is dead, or her body died. But here, she came back and she's merged with my ex-girlfriend, my aunt. My mother and my mother's sister, they merged into a being. Sandy Green and Sharon Ainsworth, Sharon here, and then another girl I met, Sandy, and actually I just saw Sandy the other night in another dimension. They merged into a being. And then a girl I dated, Helena Testerman, she merged with Sarah Palin, and I met her. And basically what it boils down to is we all merge into all is one. All is one is the bottom line lesson of that whole thing. So, and I have a lot more to say about doppelgangers and all that. But basically what we want to do is on the QSETI website on this, we want to prove all that stuff and set it up on that link so that you can actually interdimensionally communicate with these other beings, because basically that's going to be angelic communication. And we can use technology for that, and this technology is available for it. And it's just not being used for that now because the government does not want people on this planet to develop spiritually and become aware of their surroundings. But I do. So that all that information has to be proven, and the different dimensions have to start communicating with each other for the purpose of freedom. And that concludes the level 3. Everything, so basically what is a doppelganger? It's a being that has the same attributes and, physical, psychological attributes and habits and things like that. Just basically another version of yourself. And the most important thing about doppelgangers, I believe, as far as I'm concerned, is they have a lot of the same memories. So, like some of the girls I dated, when I saw them again, they had memories. Entirely different being who this being was a part of had complete memory of dating me. Yet I had never seen that being before in my life. So, but that is very important to understand. And also, you want to connect the dots between doppelgangers and the fact that there are no secrets. Because you have a guardian angel, and let's take a man and his wife for instance. The man has a guardian angel, and the woman has a guardian angel. And the guardian angels don't have secrets between each other. So, let's say you in a monogamous relationship, two beings have decided and agreed to be in a monogamous relationship, and then one part of the relationship goes off and cheats. Well, the guardian angels, they have no secrets from each other. So basically, let's say the guy cheats on the wife. Well, the man's guardian angel communicates with the mistress's guardian angel, and then also communicates with the wife's guardian angel, and there are no secrets. And once you become telepathic, you just have to be prepared to communicate clearly, directly, and honestly in order to move into a higher level of existence and exist in a reality like that, which is the next step for the human race. So we might as well just realize that and work with that. So that concludes the level 3, the requirements to be a level 3 saint in regards to this definition, this particular definition. And I'm not saying that other saints don't exist outside of this definition. I'm just putting this in a format so that people can understand it and work with it in a free will zone. Due to the fact that angels do not have free will, they have to work with the will of God, and extraterrestrials have to go by the prime directive. So it's really up to people in this dimension and the dimension that I came from to unite and be honest with each other and prosper. And then the level 3 would be